What's up, class? Tonight I'll be going over my our country project for our class. The country I was given was Georgia. Only once I'd ever even heard of this country was actually back when we were at war with Iraq and all that stuff, and then their conflict with Russia back in '08. That was probably the only time I'd ever even heard of it, knew nothing about it. So it's kind of interesting to learn some new things. The country's initial independence was May 26, 1918. They were only independent for 3 years before they were forced into the Soviet Union in 1921. When the Soviet Union dissolved in 1991, they were once again an independent country and remained that way. Just studying, some history, some political events. Something that was huge in the, Georgia's history is the Rose Revolution, which took place when the president at the time, he was president from 1995 until he was forced out of office in 2003. The people basically had enough. They felt that the country was corrupt, the public services were ineffective, and they felt their country wasn't going in the right direction. So the people took matters into their own hands. Location and people. Georgia's located Southwest Asia, bordering the Black Sea, between Turkey and Russia. And they kind of go in a little bit to Europe. They're like in southern parts, so they actually identify themselves with Europe, more than like Asia or anything like that, or Middle East. Their population is said to be around 5 million people, and they're actually one of the U.S.'s biggest allies. And I think that's just out of spite of Russia, because they do not have a good relationship with Russia. Semi-political republic, and the judicial system is the civil law system, similar to our countries. Their main sources for economic revenue include agriculture, mining, and production of alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. One interesting fact about the country is they're heavy into hydro power plants, and they actually import natural gas, so that's for their country's needs as far as like electrical things like that. They were actually having shortages until they started investing into hydro power plants and different things like that. Their network infrastructure is not the best, but there is a lot of potential. Only 45% of the population are internet users. That's less than 50% of their total population, which is terrible. Ranks 91st in the world. As far as the technology is concerned, they're 58th in network readiness. Just some other things: 108th in business usage, 54th in government usage, and 91st in economic impacts. Those are really not good numbers, but you can see the potential, and you can understand too why their country is struggling, just because they're not using the technology that we have today. They're not up to date. But the thing that really works on their side is the affordability of the infrastructure. It's 15th. It's relatively cheap over there to get everything kind of up and going and get it started. The company that I chose to kind of send over there, that would be probably my recommendation for them, is Total Wine and More. It's a company that started in 1991. It's relatively new. It's located in the U.S. It imports wines, alcoholic beverages from around the world, as well as the U.S. They sell from wines to liquors to spirits to all kinds of things, anything you can think of. They have potential to grow in Europe, I feel like, in that market from their Georgia location if they were to, kind of move there. Now, as far as changing up the web page, I would leave the drop-down menus, because I went on to a Georgian news web page, and they were big on the drop-down menus. You'd obviously have to change the language from English to Georgian. Now, something I noticed from their webpage, I obviously couldn't read it because I don't speak Georgian, but it seemed that the pictures were kind of smaller, and there was a ton more information. So if I were to be doing this, I would, you obviously have to change the currency from US dollars to Georgian lari, or Larry. I think that's how you would pronounce it. And I would add a description under each wine. And the more information I feel like needs to be added, not just sales and different things like that, but kind of more about the company and more about their products. I feel like just from looking at the Georgian webpage, it was much more descriptive than it was as far as pictures or anything like that. So my final recommendation, just after doing the research of Total Wine and More, I feel like they should branch into the Georgian market in our situation, just because to buy a winery over there and kind of get that going, they would be able to import their own products because they'd have a branch over there. It'd become cheaper for them to do that. They could probably, higher quality products. They'd be even closer to Europe, and it could be even something that could lead them into getting into Europe, which is a whole nother market. They're already in the U.S. market, which is, one of the biggest in the world. But now if you end up getting into Europe, that could take your company from an American company to a worldwide company. And I felt what better place to start than Georgia. Thank you guys for your time.